Hello, everybody. This is the Trust Frequency Embodied on the Road. And this is week number 1, and we're going to address the idea that circumstance loves us in a conscious, loving universe. And I'm Connie Baxter Marlow, and Andrew Cameron Bailey couldn't be with us tonight. He's actually not feeling well, and neither is Wowza Elisa Lodge, who's usually with us. So here we are with Oriana Marici. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Marici.
Marici. I was close. And we'll have some fun, Oriana and I, discussing these matters. And we usually have lots of folks on Facebook Live. I hope people are there and enjoying it. And we won't be responding to the chat on Facebook Live just because we're focused here on the Zoom. So if you want to participate, come into our Zoom room. And to do that, you go to goodofthewhole.com or .org and get the Zoom link. So that's how you get into being a part of the Zoom call. But meanwhile, so this is week 1 of our On the Road series. We're going to be on the road. We're actually traveling down to see Oriana in Tucson before too long. And we are going on to California and Mexico, northern Mexico, the Baja, and then back to Sunrise Ranch in early June. And then in early July, we're heading out to the East Coast for a few months through Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving this year is the 400th anniversary of that 3-day multicultural harvest celebration we call the first Thanksgiving. And we do a lot of work around that time because that was the beginning of 54 years of peace and friendship in Plymouth, Massachusetts between, well, it wasn't Massachusetts at that time, it was the Plymouth colony and the Wampanoag Indians that we say and we believe was the first great synthesis, the first 54 years of peace and friendship between the Mayflower Pilgrims who were seeking freedom to act according to our conscience. And they met with Native American people who lived that way. They lived from that direct connection, that spirit-guided, creator-guided connection. So that coming together of spiritually aligned people gave birth to something, and that was the United States of America. It's the origin story of this nation. So it's very important and a perspective to get us up and out of shame and blame and victim and perpetrator and all those things that revisionist history has said that this country was founded on. Well, guess what? We left out that 54 years of peace and friendship, that gem that sits at the very origin of this concept of liberty, justice, equality, abundance for all that we stand for in the hearts and minds of the world that we've got yet to get to. So this process is very important to bring in the Native Americans and their role in this birth of this nation and the American mind, because the American mind was different from the European mind by the time the revolution came about. So we will be talking further about that at another time, but you can go to first50years.us. That's first50years.us and learn more about these syntheses between the Europeans and the Native Americans. And there was a second one, and now we're calling for the third one. The third synthesis is happening now as we're opening our hearts and minds to the Native people and what they're carrying with their connection to a multidimensional reality, which is what we're speaking about today with Oriana, who is very connected through science, through her heart and her spirit, and through her knowledge of science to the new science, the unified science that's replacing the old materialistic reductionist, separatist paradigm. There's a new science that's understanding this connectedness and sacredness of all life that the native people have been carrying. So that's what the trust frequency does, our book, The Trust Frequency. It brings forth indigenous cosmology and quantum science in a synthesis to help us understand how loved we are by a conscious, loving universe. So that's full circle to the trust frequency and what we're here tonight to talk about. And what I believe that I've seen through indigenous cosmology is that loving nature of the universe. And science has brought us the fact that scientifically we create our reality with our minds, our hearts. The universe loves us so much, it gives us what we ask for. And that's through our perception and our consciousness. So anyway, Oriana, what do you think about the conscious, loving, abundant nature of the universe from your perspective?
Let's just bite off a mouthful, huh?
Yeah, sorry about that. Whatever you want to do with it, you can do with it.
Oh my, she says. Yeah. Well, yeah, what brings to mind this moment I had of dancing and dancing as my husband and I do every week, and we happen to be blues dancers, so it was a blues band. But I was really just into the dance of it all. But there came just a moment when I was in every proton, in everything simultaneously. It's very hard to describe, but there was just this sense of being expanded, but being very grounded in the movement simultaneously, so that I could feel the movement flowing through. I wasn't making the movement, I was being moved, being danced. And this greater sense of the expansiveness of the universe. And I was every particle in the universe. And like looking up, every star was a particle in this greater universe unfolding.
Yeah. Wow. So
Yeah.
you experienced it.
Yeah. And it was, it sort of came in a flash, but then it stayed with me the whole evening too, this sense of being danced and looking out and and there was like no separation between me and the trees, me and the table, me and the dance floor, me and Randall. It was just all one flowing energy.
Wow, because that's my understanding that we're going to start experiencing that. I mean, that the indigenous peoples have been carrying that in their shamanic abilities to shapeshift, and because visionary indigenous elders came into my life to show me the missing pieces of the paradigm that I was seeking, because I knew our paradigm was out of balance. And this was 30, 40 years ago. And I saw it through them. I don't experience it, but I saw it through them and knew that was what was coming for humanity. And it's such a thrill now to hear you say that experience is coming to you, because I know that you have a real intellect and you have a real heart and spirit connection. So the fact that things are coming so powerfully to you to expand from your intellectual knowledge of this unified science and everything that I share with you, I get it, but I haven't experienced it per se. I see big pictures, I see what's coming on the planet, but I haven't experienced that oneness that near-death experiencers have.
Mhm.
You know, that love and that oneness. Did you sense it of it as a love energy?
Yeah, I don't know is that I put any kind of definition to it. It wasn't like what a near-death experience, that overwhelming sense of love and being loved. I didn't really feel that. It was more of a like being in awe, like just
Oh,
wow, look at that. In the sense, I think the best description would be the, you know, the toroid from the heart that you see, like Heart Math has this beautiful diagram of a toroid, the spiraling shape that is centered in the heart, and it creates a field of energy around you. And I was experiencing that as a field, that I was inside of this field of energy, but that field of energy was inside of every particle, every proton was this spiraling.
which you have a sense of those particles, right? I mean, in your studies and stuff, you have a sense of the Planck particles and the protons. You know, that's in your vocabulary,
Yeah.
your understanding, and up to the cosmos, to the universe.
Yeah.
And so for you, I can see how that you know, that vision of the proton having it too could come to you, you know,
It would be the way I would see
it would
it.
be the way you would see it. You
Yeah.
know, and of course, each person's experience is going to be tailor-made to them,
Uh-huh.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
because I
Well,
would, if it happened to me, I wouldn't go, oh yeah, there's a proton acting just like. But for you, it's like, wow,
yeah,
wow,
you look
look
out
at
and
the
call them
protons.
stars, but they're all just particles floating in the quantum field. And but what I also find interesting is that it occurs when I'm dancing, and this isn't the first time that this has happened. It's rather like when I'm not focused on the science, when I'm not focused on
Yeah.
anything, but just being in the movement and being present and being in that state of just enjoyment, then it's like, oh, this great expansive, like, oh, and I have a sense of going beyond my personality, if that makes sense. It's like bigger than me, but it's not like I feel like an enlightened being, kind of, you know, flash of truth understanding. And at the same time, I feel this sense of a divine presence. So I'm not sure how those things kind of equate, but maybe it's because I'm not sure what enlightenment would actually feel like at the moment. You know, the Buddha was enlightened. You know, what does that feel like?
And do we have words?
And do we have words, or do we need words, or is it a kind of a unique individual experience of suddenly understanding what hadn't been available before, and then all of a sudden it's oh, and it has that kind of, oh, I don't know what I know, I just know I know. I remember sitting on top of uh oh, it's a ruin in very famous ruin in Mexico, Chichen Itza. Yeah,
Oh
Chichen
yeah.
Itza. And my friend and I had gone to visit Chichen Itza, and somehow she spoke a little Spanish. She finds this guide, and he takes us in at night, and
Oh wow.
yeah, we had to pay a lot of a lot
Good
of
for
bribe
you.
money to do this, but we got in at night, and I said, I want to see the stars from horizon to horizon. We're in the middle of the, you know, Yucatan Peninsula. I want to see the stars. And okay. So we climb up to the top of the pyramid, but the Chichen Itza pyramid has a little, like a box on top of it. So yeah, and you can't get up on top of that. So you can get to the step before that, but you can't, it's quite a bit taller. And I said, no, no, this won't do. I have to see the stars. Oh, El Observatorio, you come with me. And we're tromping across,
I know,
somewhere
I know
following
the
this.
area. I know Chichen Itza. So you come back down and go across to the observatorio.
Yeah, and all the while following this guide, and my friend
Was
Mary.
he Mayan? Do you know if he was
He was
Mayan?
Mayan. He was part Mayan. I don't think he was full Mayan, but yeah. So he troops us across El Observatorio. So we go up these crumbling old staircase, like it's not something you need to be crawling on. I don't think they took tourists up there anymore, at least at that time. But I'm following him along, and my my friend just said, "You know what? I'm not going to go up, and no, I can't do these stairs. It was too terrifying for her." And so I said, "Okay, you wait here. I'll be back." So I keep following this character up, and something in me kind of said, "Well, if they'd never find our bones if he decided to bury us somewhere here. Nobody knows where we are. We're just kind of blindly following along." So we get up on top of El Observatorio, and all I can remember is he was making these amorous kind of passes in Spanish. I thought, what are you, crazy? We're on top of this old place. So I just ignored him and turned around and looked at these stars. OMG. I mean, literally, I was, oh. And I just said, I know, I know, I know. And suddenly it was like, on the old Star Trek shows where they hit hyperspace in the spacecraft and the scene of the stars would suddenly go blurred past. It was kind of like that. Like everything went like beyond 3 dimensions. I was inside of these stars somewhere else. And I just kept saying, I know, I know. I had no idea what it was that I knew. I just knew that I knew, like something inside just said, this is what I had to see. This is what was calling me. This is what I came for. I know. And I had no idea what it was that I knew, but something came alive in me with that vast spaciousness that was, yes, that's it. That's what's calling us. This something beyond.
Beautiful. And I see that's my understanding that that's what's up for the human race now in these times. We're just going to get it, that veil that separates us from that knowing is thinning and thinning. And with new energies on the planet, I believe the planet is moving into higher frequencies. So there's more availability, a higher frequency, a higher vibration, a higher dimension accessible to us, and that this is what's up. And so for you to speak in this manner and to have this happen to you on the dance floor, and it also happened to you right before while you were watching them. Was this the same night as when you were watching them set up?
No, this was just last night.
It was last night.
Yeah,
Because
and
the other one, it was after your tooth extraction and situation, and you were on, medication of some sort. But this was just last night. So this is
big.
ongoing, right?
Yeah, well, it has been this ongoing real quest for me, for sure. And what I am coming to know more and more, and this is the best way I can put words to it. It's it's almost like grabbing hold of it too quickly and trying to make story out of it doesn't allow it to really develop. And I have a picture of like the old Polaroid snapshots. We're old enough to know them. Right, the old Polaroid where you take a picture and then it spits out this instant picture, like, oh wow, how amazing was that new technology, huh? So now you get a little cardboard snapshot, but you're holding it and waiting for it to develop.
Okay.
Right? And you don't want to put it right out in direct sunlight or it doesn't develop, right? So you don't want to shine the light on it too soon. You have to just let it develop, just let the picture fill in. And so that's more the sense I have, that this picture is coming more into form, but trying to understand it too soon is like trying to put it into our limited language. Like,
Yeah.
a remote Amazonian tribe that never had seen New York City, and trying to understand traffic lights and taxi cabs and all the things that go with the city skyscrapers, but they don't have words for it. So trying to understand people stacking on top of each other and living that way would be like, huh? You do what?
Yeah, I'm going to turn the heat down on here so there isn't a noise behind. I didn't want this noise behind from the heater. Yeah, Oriana, exactly. Not too much too soon. And what I was going to say in the context of circumstance loving us, okay, because that's what I called this, what we were going to speak about.
Yeah.
What I say is the answers you get depend on the questions you ask.
Ah, that's good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you said it's been a lifelong search for you, this understanding,
Mm-hmm.
and how you framed those questions and how you've spent your life and circumstance showing up in your life to bring you to this point. Is circumstance loving you
Mm-hmm.
to give you the answers you came here, the answers to the questions you came here to ask?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm feeling about my life,
Uh-huh.
because I asked the question, what is missing in our paradigm that has us out of balance? I
Ah,
saw, and
good.
this was when I was a teenager, late teens. And that, why did I ask that question?
Uh-huh.
What are the missing pieces of the paradigm? I wasn't in science, I wasn't in whatever. I just saw that we had a scientific paradigm that couldn't answer everything. The paranormal, they say, oh, well, that doesn't happen. Well, guess what? It does happen. It didn't happen to me, but it happens to people. And I'm like, if you can't explain it, I'm not putting my life on a paradigm that can't explain things. So I went searching for those missing pieces. And ultimately, I went to Europe and found the same thinking as we are thinking, because we're from Europe. And I was in a bookstore in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and picked up a book of native poetry. And I saw right there, I had a sense that this was it, that they were seeing something in it that would add to and expand the paradigm to the level of us coming into balance. Well, that's what I've come to understand. And then visionary elders started coming into my life. And that's when I saw through them this aspect that the native people were going to be bringing forth an understanding of this, what you're speaking about. Because these visionary elders, these shamanic elders who came into my life, Wallace Black Elk, one of the great Lakota elders, I called him a walking phenomenon from the day I met him till the day he died and I attended his funeral. We were great friends for 20 years.
Wow.
And I saw through him and his experiences and what the reality he was describing, the reality you're speaking about right now. Because he said, we can walk around inside eyeballs, we can go to the moon, we can travel to the cosmos, we can, it was a non-linear reality, a multidimensional reality. And I saw it then, that what they're carrying is the next step in the evolution of consciousness of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So circumstance brought me the answers I was asking, answers to the questions I was asking. And this is the loving universe. What I got from all this was the universe is energy, and the energy of that universe is love, unconditional love that gives us everything we ask for. And what are our requests? You've been on our our stuff long enough to know what we say our requests are our consciousness. And that's unified science is now proving that consciousness is fundamental to all reality, right? And so what we're saying to people, okay, what creates our reality and our vibratory level is our consciousness, and a vibratory level creates our reality because all the different frequencies, different vibratory levels have different laws. And so we give tools with this trust frequency stuff to access bigger, higher, not bigger, but well, higher and bigger, because there's more information, as Nassim has said, there's more information in the higher frequencies. So, so that's kind of a story of my life and how circumstance has shown up as a loving, creative force to give me the life I came on the planet to, the gifts I came on the planet to bring, the universe has brought to me, and how the universe has brought you to us in this trust frequency discussion, because you bring so much to it from who you are. So it's a jigsaw puzzle that we're all putting our pieces, you know, because I think we add something to you, because that's why you show up, because you're curious and you feel a resonance, and we learn from you and you learn from us, and that's what we feel all of humanity is doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I do the remote viewing, secrets of remote viewing now, and we've been having fun putting that together. And what we're doing is we have a target. I give them the target coordinate numbers. That's the only thing they know about what they're supposed to go feel into, find, get some information about. So I don't tell them what the target is, just give them a series of numbers. That's the only thing they know, and they have to go explore this target and come back with their impressions of it. And then we're doing it as a group now, I say, okay, now put your impressions on the table, and it's like a jigsaw puzzle where you don't know where your piece fits in until you notice there's some green on one of the, oh, and look, there's a whole thing over here that needs green grasses. Oh, it's trees. That's what it is. Yeah, it's coming. And so we begin to put our perceptions together, and then they begin to make sense. Then they fill up. And so it takes away the pressure of when you do it individually. It's, okay, what does that mean? Where am I? What is that? And because the imagination wants to know, you know, the mind wants to figure it out, and survival depends on, if you hear a crackling sound, you better know what it is. If twigs, or is it a big thing coming towards you? You know, are you lunch for somebody, or is it something that might be edible that's crawling around? But you hear that crackling sound, and you got to make sense out of it. And so when the woman that said it's like a crackling, and she said, but you know, like, well, like we have a lot of autumn leaves here, and I can just remember walking on the autumn leaves and hearing the crackle, and so I just said, okay, well, what if it wasn't leaves, and just hold with that crackling sound and feel more into it. Well, it turned out it was sailboats, a whole series of sailboats that would be in the breeze. They make kind of this crackling sound and clinking with the masts and the rigging on the mast, and so the idea that she could hear something that was this peculiar sound she couldn't quite recognize, but then what happens is the imagination says, oh, I know what that is. And so the training is to really go with the perception at the lower threshold where you just perceive it and you hold with that sensation. And then as we report it to the whole, and someone else said, I heard clinking sounds like mast rigging on a mast.
Because the person was a sailor and could recognize it, perhaps.
That's how she equated it. She didn't think that's actually what it was. That's just what she related. It was more like a clicking or clinking, you know, like something would be hitting back and forth, like. But it was a That's exactly what they were, a series of boats that we were.
So you do this training, this remote viewing training?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had been trained, it was a year-long program that we did, and my mentor is a doctor, a psychologist in Seattle who had trained, he called himself second generation military, which meant that his trainers trained in the military. So he was the second generation of being trained in that military style. And it was called Stargate, that the military developed the whole remote viewing protocols, and they were using them for spying operations during the Cold War. And so they got the best psychics they could track down and trained them up on how to do it, and they got very good at it. And from there, they went on to teach other people this protocol.
Wow.
So since that time, that was about 10 years ago, and what he would say is that the goal isn't to guess the target. That he considered to be the booby prize if you guess what the target was. The goal, he would say, would be to bilocate to the target so that you are seeing, sensing, feeling all the sensations and as if you're there. So it's different than astral projection, where astral projection, you're actually leaving your body and you are taking your astral body someplace. This, you're bilocating by using your senses, as if your senses are extended from you, like in the quantum field, and being able to perceive that which isn't there. And so the way that I usually just introduce this to people is, do you know what velvet feels like? Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that different than silk?
Yeah.
How about satin?
Yeah.
Okay, so of those three, right? Now, which one feels shiny?
Satin.
Ah, okay. And which one feels more gossamer?
Which one from velvet or satin, or what was the other one?
Silk.
Silk.
Yeah. Mm. Okay. And which one feels like it has more texture?
Wow. The velvet.
Okay, so you can really tell there's a distinct difference between those three fabrics, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are you feeling? There's nothing there.
Uh-huh.
You're not touching anything. There is no physical stimulus. So then you have to wonder, well, how did you feel that? You knew exactly what they felt like.
Right.
So now you have a recorded sensation. How did you record that? How is that sensation recorded in such a way that you have instant access to it, that you can feel it, you can make distinctions between those physical sensations when there is no physical stimulus? So that's what we're really looking at, is that you're capable of having those stimulus that are what we call subliminal, right? The liminal sense is that there's something of a wave coming through that you're hearing as sound or you're seeing as sight. But if it's a dog whistle, it's beyond the liminal, it's subliminal to you. So we're opening perceptions to be able to perceive the subliminal range. And the reason that we're doing this, and we just had a talk today with the group I've been working with, what we call ourselves the Explorer Club. Explore. Oh. We go exploring. Really isn't to become a really good remote viewer and work for the, work for the military or the, police to find missing people or such. That but what happens is that what we're doing is learning to work together as a team with our perceptions, with our understandings that are partial and partial, until we come together and begin to piece it together. But then also the idea that we are sharing this space, right? You and I don't share the same space location, we're in different states, but we're in the same moment in time. And so, how is it that we're communicating through our Zoom contact? But what about the rest of the sensation, feeling when you're moved by someone and you feel touched? What is that level of communication? That more refined, non-linear language. That's what I'm after.
Mm.
And I have a sense of when you were saying that the universe is that a sense of being called forth by the universe. And I feel it more than anything. It's beyond having guides or guidance. To me, it is this deep, visceral feeling of being called forth like a toddler. Like, come on, you can do it. Take one more step. Oh, that's good. Like, I never get a direct here, do this. This is the next, this is what you need to, well, this is the understanding you need. You know, I don't get that. What I get is, oh, good, you're doing good. I don't understand it. Good, you're doing.
Right. Yeah, I get direct orders. I remember saying, "Yep, Marlow reporting for duty," because I'd get told, "Yeah, go pack up your little kids and head off to Mexico and find the Maya and check in with the Maya." I had no idea who they were, where they were. This was in 1990. I had a
Oh my God.
10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
And you took them with you?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And off we went and ended up in the jungles with the Lacandone Maya, and I'm still in relationship with, and it all, to me, I say, well, it must have a purpose somewhere, somehow, sometime. And so just trusting the loving universe
Yeah.
and proceeding. So, you know, we all have different ways that we interact with this loving universe. And so it's pretty exciting after 20 years, 30 years to have things come together that the foundation was laid back then. And so on the remote viewing thing, I had a friend. Can you hear that dog barking?
Yeah, baby.
Doesn't bother you? It's really annoying me. I'm going to go do something.
Okay.
Tell the folks a little more about the remote viewing.
Yeah, the remote viewing. Yes. Well, it's a wonderful way to have immediate feedback of what you are able to perceive. And that the idea being is that if you had a Rubik's Cube and you handed it to a child and didn't give him any instructions and just said, here, figure out how this works and put it together like it's supposed to be when you win the game, and had no other further instructions, the child would very probably not be able to figure it out for a long, long while. But if you were standing there and you handed it to the child and just with each move gave them feedback of yes or no, they would figure it out along the way from just having that level of feedback. And so what we're doing with the remote viewing is just giving feedback to what your perception is, what you're perceiving as what we would normally think of as an intuitive hit or some idea, or maybe it's like this, or it could be, or it's a gut feeling, but you have no way to really have direct feedback. And this is a way that we have direct feedback. So we're training up our ability to perceive the sensations within the field. And so this field that we share is one in which is a non-linear language that I call sonar sight, in the way the dolphins send out a sonar wave and then read the interference pattern that comes back, and they see, you know, a sunken treasure. But what science has finally been able to to discern. And when I heard that they just discovered this, I thought, didn't they always know that? To me, it's so obvious that the waveforms coming back are geometric patterns that have texture. So they not only see what's underwater, they are feeling it, they're touching it. That's their sense of how big is it? How was it? Is it rusty? Is it square? Is it angles? Is it, what is that? And so, so imagine that the whole field that we share has these geometric waveforms that are moving through, and that they're communicating something of the greater universe. If only we could listen in. So if only we didn't demand that it be put into English or whatever native language, but that we were able to open to this greater awareness languaging. And I was, my first call was to a shaman in Peru, and we went into the Amazon jungle, where I was later initiated in the Amazon. And so I quite well know what you're speaking to when you meet a real shaman, that not the we're doing shamanic practices kind of thing, but when you meet a shaman and they look at you. The only other time I've had that sense is when a dolphin, bottle-nosed dolphin, came nose to nose with me practically, and they're doing a scan on you, and you know you have been seen.
Wow.
Yeah, you're like, whoa. And that sense of being seen by these shaman, and they speak to it as they see you, and they see you and with your power animals with you, and who are you traveling with today, and I just saw so many extraordinary things with these. I was improved like four different times with the shaman there.
And your sense, your ability to feel things yourself and see these geometric patterns. Not everybody can, my darling.
Yeah.
You know? So for you to share that, what your gifts are, your particular piece of the puzzle is so important. And that's why I'm so happy to have you adding to our explanation that we see from our point of view, this trust frequency, this conscious loving universe articulation, and then to have you who actually experiences it on so many levels. And so I was going to say that a friend of mine way back in World War II was in he was in the mountain division, 10th Mountain Division, and they were up in this outside of this village in Italy, I think it was, and he could see inside the village, and he wasn't a cosmic anything.
Wow.
He could see inside the village, so he could tell his commanding officer where to go, what to do, where the people were, where the gates were, what was going on.
Wow. Was he trained up in this, or he just spontaneously?
He just spontaneously did. And it never shifted his logical linear mind.
Oh.
I mean, he became a very close friend of mine, and he just couldn't grok the trust frequency, what I was talking about. And he would relate this experience he had, but it didn't change him from his locked in linear box.
How did he account for that moment?
He couldn't.
He couldn't. It was just an anomaly that
he died at 95, and he was one of the founders of Vail ski area. It was a very, very close friend of mine. And he just, and his daughter was cosmic, very cosmic. His daughter is Catherine Parker, who does a lot of major work with healing and beyond the linear thing. And and it's interesting. And I always thought, someone who would have an experience, have an epiphany experience, a near-death experience, that of course that would wake them up to the cosmos, to the divine, to all this. And what Ken Wilber explained in his his waking up and growing up and cleaning up and all that, that you can wake up without growing up. So you can have an epiphany experience, but if you don't grow up with it, it just becomes that experience and doesn't change you in this process of growing up. You've got to give permission and you've got to walk through the process, or your soul's got to be ready. I don't know but that helped me to understand that somebody can have a near-death experience or this or that and not actually go where you and I have gone with living and experiencing and walking in another reality.
Yeah, that kind of puts a little perspective in what I was saying about having these experiences that were like very expansive, but that they don't, I think the mind wants to cubbyhole that information. Like, where do I put this? How do I understand it according to what is known to me in my worldview, rather than expanding the worldview to be a universal being? And that's where I feel more and more drawn, is that, oh, we're not just planetary citizens, we're literally universal beings having a planetary experience, but that we're far beyond this limited idea we have of earthlings, and that trying to put all of that greater awareness into the frame of well, here's my little life, and especially for a military that, you don't talk about UFO kind of things, not if you want to keep status, you don't.
Right. Well, what happened for me is the opposite. When I saw this stuff, when somebody said to me, well, dolphins can intake information much faster than humans, I got it immediately that we're going to go there. And when I just saw that, when Wallace Black Elk and all these other elders, when they experienced it, I'm like, okay, I get it. And so I live my life accordingly. Like, I didn't care if my son learned to read, because I'm like, reading is a slow way of intaking information. And we're moving to a place where we're going to be intaking information like the dolphins do. Okay. So this is my world. And so someone showed up and my son dropped out of first grade. But somebody did show up to teach him to read, but I wasn't going to force him to learn to read, because we turn kids off to reading when we force them to read. And so I'm like, hey, I don't care. Hey, we're going someplace else if he doesn't want to read. And so, that's I did the opposite with, I took that box and said, okay, bye-bye box, and put together this worldview that science is now proving that I saw from these Native Americans. Like the thing with the circumstance loving us, and I'll just, because we're going to have to, the men are going to come on shortly, the fact, and in a Native way, when you have a problem or a question and you go out or whatever, somehow an animal's going to show up to tell you the answer to your question. Okay, you're out for a walk and a deer comes in your path, and you've been questioning, what shall I do about my mother and my anger for my mother? And the deer comes and you get, oh, just be peaceful, right? So you go home and you've taken that lesson, you go home and you're peaceful with your mother, and all of a sudden the whole thing shifts. Well, how does that deer get there? What I figured out is it's a conscious, loving universe. It's all energy, and the energy can form itself into anything it wants. And it loves us, so it can form itself into a deer when we need the answer from the deer nation. Because actually, I have a shamanic daughter. We were hiking up in Maine, and we stopped, and she said, "Mom, stop! You see that rabbit in the path? That's a holographic rabbit."
Really?
Okay? She could see that rabbit wasn't real. So that helped me with the Native thing. That helped me piece it all together, that, okay, that deer shows up because it's a loving universe that wants to give me the answer to my question. And so the deer, it forms itself into a deer, and then I've got the answer. So that's the reality I live in, Oriana. And it's like, okay, your keys, right? You put your keys down and all of a sudden they're somewhere else, right?
They moved.
They move.
They moved.
Okay. They only show up because they love us. And they, so anyway, that's what I get out of the conscious loving universe and circumstance, because the whole universe operates to take us on our journey to wholeness, which you've heard us talk about. So here comes John. And so we got to end this, but it's what a treat it's been to be here with you and just have this chat. Wow, what a chat, eh?
I had no idea we both had such powerful shamanic backgrounds either.
Well, yeah, but mine's come through my intellect, you know? So we'll sign off now. Hi, gentlemen. Nice to see you all. And I'll sign off of Facebook Live. And